all know who my favorite Transformer character of all time, that's Hot Rod Rodimus Prime. But not a lot of people know who my second favorite Transformer character of all time is, and he's a lot more obscure, and kind of little, interesting to say the least. That is of Nitro Convoy, and I never thought I would ever really have an opportunity to give a history lesson of that character and all the toys that were made. Until now. Mastermind Creations reformatted R30 Nitro Racer, a third-party masterpiece-esque attempt at Nitro Convoy, or as the dub would call it, the female character of Override. But this is the king of the road, in my opinion, my second favorite Transformer character of all time, and it's an opportunity to review this toy again for the third time because I've done this mold already twice before, so on the channel at least. So here's an excuse to give a history lesson of all the toys that have existed related to this guy and what we have here today. So this is Protoman, this is ProtoRetro, and let's do it.
ProtoRetro.
I am so hyped, you have no idea. I would have never thought in all my days that my second favorite Transformer character of all time would get any kind of love outside of its initial toy. I just thought it was a really great character. It's going to, maybe, if I'm very lucky, there might be some kind of weird offshoot, BotCon exclusive that I might be able to influence in some way to make happen. But when BotCon and FunPub kind of went under, those kind of hopes melted away. So luckily, third party saw an opening and pulled the trigger. And it's crazy now that already I own this mold 3 times before because of Hot Rod, and now my favorite character, Hot Rod, is retooled and remolded into my second favorite character of all time, Nitro Convoy. So, for those that don't know, this is reformatted R30 Nitro Racer into Nitro Convoy, the king of the road from the Galaxy Force series, or, for the people who like really bad dubs, the Cybertron series. This figure comes in a basic box, doesn't have the normal opening flap like some of the others. Special repaints, it comes with a comic that, from what I could tell, is a prequel story to Galaxy Force, because the character Gasket is in it and kind of has a negative relationship with Nitro Convoy. So it's that pre-Cybertron Galaxy Force story before everything kind of went all happy and dandy afterwards. Also, the character of Dirt Boss is in there too, in a small little cameo. Also comes with a trading card. Not much to say there, just, oh, speed is 10. Let's get to the toy. So, what do we get this time around that is different? Because it is a retool and repaint. First things first, a new accessory. You get a gun that is slightly molded after, brand new gun that is slightly molded after Nitro Convoy's weapon, which we're going to get into the history of this character after I'm done talking about this alt mode. What's also new is they did a few retooling in different areas. We have the wings here that are different. We have clear wheels, which are very akin of what Speedia characters are, because they all had clear wheels, not just Nitro Convoy's original toy, but all the Speedia Planet Transformers from Galaxy Force. Has these flat pieces here, which normally would have been Hot Rod's, pipes that would have been the back, which made his little, tri-blasters. And finally, the 2 little engine turbines here in the back, which would have just been flat. I'll bring in, over here, Calidus. We'll use the TFCon version. So right away you can see the weapon is different. And then you see also just all the other differences. So, like I said, we go to the spoilers being different. One is massive, one isn't. The side, again, you have the Tri-Blaster. The back, with the turbine being different. In this case, you just have a flat surface there. And the clear wheels, in this case, it's just solid wheels. And what's cool is because, and again, it's like an undocumented feature, is because just like all the others, you can still swap all the spoilers if need be, if you own any of the others, whether it be the original Calidus, the Calidus with the Lost Light colors, the Shattered Glass one. You could still swap everything. And again, I don't know if that's an undocumented feature. It looks always like just the crazy glue just wasn't the most perfect thing in the world for the factories. But again, just an extra feature that people don't normally notice. We'll get to the robot mode also with in comparisons afterwards. Now let's talk about the history first of this character and its toy releases, because again, I went balls to the wall when this character came out and got everything. So we'll go to the first release. Let's talk about Galaxy Force. Nitro Convoy GC10 was the leader of Speedia, the fastest king of the road, and was a awesome, awesome toy. Let's bring in that toy right now. Yes, I have one loose too. We'll put it next to this one here to show the comparisons already. So right away you could see the color cues and everything that they were going with to match. Again, the clear red for the wheels, the blue on the vents. Very nice there. The blue areas. These blue areas here will make more sense with the robot mode. Same thing with the wings at the back. Spoiler, very nice. The little lines there to match here. A lot of awesome stuff that is here, that is present in both. And again, we can't really see it. Well, we could a little bit. Force chip ignition for the gun. But it'll be more apparent in robot mode. When you use the force chip, it unlocked his mock shot, which was his gun that was used in both modes actually, both in robot mode and in alt mode. Looks really cool. Also, if you were Americano or Canadian like me, you also could have picked up the American version, which is Override, which was a female character. And there's the DVD variant version, which came with a DVD, which had the same toy inside otherwise. Now, the Override version, I'll bring that one in here, was more or less exactly the same, except for minor changes here and there. The red plastic that was used on the Override had more of an orange to it. It had different paint, in the alt mode at least, had different paint in different areas. For some weird reason, the Nitro Convoy version in Japan had the blue paint on the thighs there. It could be seen in alt mode, and when in robot mode, could also be seen in the front. For some weird reason, the Hasbro version of Override, the female version, had the blue paint put on the back. And you don't see it in alt mode, and you don't see it in robot mode. I think that was maybe a factory mistake, but at least you know, it's weird, and a lot of people got shafted out of that. Also, the crest in the Japanese version was fully painted. It was only half painted in the American version, which is kind of sad. And you can't see it here, but in robot mode he also has, well, she in this case has an orange face, and that's kind of the difference. A gold face is a Nitro Convoy, an orange face is a Override. And I also feel that it adds more to the fact that Override could be interpreted as a Minerva homage, which had an orange face and had this kind of color scheme, where Nitro Convoy had a gold face and is kind of his own thing. We'll get into the transformation too afterwards. Again, very minor things like an Autobot logo over there, which was absent there, which I think was unnecessary. The clear plastic is a kind of a different tint. There's very minor things, but overall they are really two different color schemes, just all in very small areas. And again, the robot mode will really show that. I could also talk about a black repaint, but again, that's Override, and I'm not a fan of the, you know, dubs. And I feel that, you know, in the same way that, you know, I prefer Air Razor as a female character over the Beast Wars dub in Japan, where they make it a male character, I prefer Override to be a dude. than a dudette, because it's the king of the road and he's so cool. And again, Galaxy Force is the original take, and that's how it should be. To bring up another thing too about this character and its toys that exist, a lot of weird stuff. So also in China, they did a bootleg. This was Galaxy Transformer, which was a bootleg and done in more of a yellowy kind of, you know, white. It's kind of cheap looking. I've never opened it, but I remember when I saw it, I had to get it. It was called Rally, this character, just like how Blur was Roadster, and you know, there's Dirt Boss was Jeep, and Coupe was the, you know, Excellion in the hot rod colors. Yeah, that's a weird one. And finally, the last thing of Nitro Convoy really that exists is there was a Kabaya little PVC figure. Now, what's interesting about this especially is that when Cybertron started doing the Legend scale, Nitro Convoy was the only of the, you know, the smart prime characters or, you know, leader characters that didn't get a Legend scale. It could, you know, you could also mention Metroplex, but that wouldn't make sense. That's why I say smart, because the whole point of those Legend scales, at least when it was advertised in Takara's side of things with Galaxy Force, was they were to be small that could work with the larger Gigalonia giant planet characters. So this was the closest we ever got to a Legend scale Nitro Convoy. And again, it's a parts former, and it more or less is just a Legend scale Nitro Convoy and works well with your other Legend scale characters. So Evac, also known as Live Convoy, got a Legend scale. Scourge, also known as Flame Convoy, got a Legend scale. Optimus Prime got a Legend scale. So it's kind of a shame that Nitro Convoy didn't. And so this is the closest you would get to one. And again, it fits perfectly with it. And these Kabayas are fairly easy to come by, and they're not too expensive. And they were pretty cool too, and they had other characters also. But all those other characters had Legend scales. So the Nitro Convoy was the unique one. So there's the last of the Nitro Convoy merch that existed. Let's bring back in now our main dude. One last thing I just want to mention also, the Japanese version's Force Chip, or Cyber Planet Key as it's called in America, didn't have anything marked on it, while the American version had a little code that you could unlock on the website, which does not function anymore, unfortunately. So let's transform this guy. I could talk more about the actual alt mode itself, but in all honesty, if you just go back and watch my hot rod versions of this, and I've done 2 already, you'd get the same kind of review. It's just the little things that I pointed out. So let's transform it and then look at other Nitro Convoy stuff. Transformation. Cybertron Speedia Shekai Nitro Convoy. Nitro Convoy, Nitro Racer, looks amazing. I can't stress that enough. Let me just pull this up a little bit, get him to eye level. This guy looks great. The gold face, the resculpted head, and the great use of remolded parts really makes this look like a completely different figure. Almost as if it was intended to be this figure. Before I'm going to bring in the Calliduses and stuff, I just want to just compare to its original intention. So the remolded stuff that then was added to make things different. By getting rid of the Rodimus pipes there, you have the flat, which looks really good. These were added on to match the turbines that Nitro Convoy had on the shoulders. Again, the use of paint in specific areas to really make certain areas pop and match that robot mode. It's amazing how just a little paint could go a long way. Again, the little details to really make it match are just great. The clear plastic that makes it match too. The legs and have that frill. It's just incredible. And when we get to the weapon, which is stored on, here I'll bring in Override. Normally it's stored on the back there, the weapon. I fell. Shame on me. The weapon, when it's stored on the back, could be taken out. You take the force chip, and Mock Shot is now activated. And you see how that's what they were going for, to match that original gun that Nitro Convoy came with. So it's really cool that they made an effort for that. And Nitro Convoy, because the original toy was a bit of a flip changer, it had a little bit of an auto-transforming gimmick, and you could see here how the arms don't want to stay completely straightforward. He had a spring in him to make a auto-change gimmick so that, you know, because he's Nitro Convoy, so he's fast, so he must transform fast too. Kind of limited his articulation and everything of such a really cool character in the show, and he was a lot more thinner in the show, where this one, because it had to, again, have that auto-transform gimmick, it kind of made him a little more bulky. This really gets that more thin look that was needed for this character, and he looks spectacular. Let's bring in some of the others. So like I mentioned before, we'll just do a quick history lesson about the differences here. Number one, as I mentioned before, you had the Autobot logo there, the orange on the face where it was gold on the other, the crest. What was different now that you could see more in robot mode is you could see now there was the blue on the thigh here. That was absolutely absent, and oddly they put the paint deco on the back there, which you'll never see. I don't know why they did that. It's very bizarre. But otherwise, you know, there was very little that was absent. Just a little bit of black paint that was on the Japanese version that was absent in the American one. Again, Override had a lot of things not going for it. So on top of it not being my choice of how the character should be depicted, it was also the weaker toy when it was released in America. Let's get to the Legend Scale one, or the Kabaya. So the Kabaya was, as it was, a tinier version. And just like how it had that, it had its own little weapon, which could be stored on the back or held. And it would make it one of the few, if this would have been a Legends toy, it would have been one of the few Legends toys that actually did have an accessory. I think only 2 others really did have an actual accessory. And it was more just due to the fact that, you know, it was part of the transformation. But still, pretty cool that that exists. So let's bring in now to compare. I know that Pia, when he did this review, he showed the original Calidus, but he said that he didn't have the other 2. So I figured I'd let Ben show the original Calidus colors, and I'll cover the other 2 colors. So you could really see right away the differences in terms of the sculpt and molding, going down to, first of all, like I said, the blasters on the side, the shoulders, and how they were retooled there, the clear plastic, the head sculpt, and of course just everything else that makes it pop ultimately in the end, the little paint and everything that just looks great. And, you know, well, the spoiler, which again, like I said, is swappable. And wow, when I actually turned it, one of those spoilers went flying. Maybe not the best thing that it's able to do that, but nonetheless. So otherwise, it's the same transformation, same mold, but for some crazy reason, it works so well with this character. And I don't know, like it's almost made for it. And it looks absolutely great. And it really shows, once again, how much retooling can make all the difference and make a whole other toy out of the same kind of design. And it just looks great. Looks absolutely great. If I had one complaint only, and it has nothing to do really with a complaint about the toy itself, but what possibly could have been included. The original Caliduses, both of them, when they were given exclusive releases or exclusive repaints, in the case of, let's say, the Lost Light version, came with a bow and arrow as an extra accessory, but also all the Caliduses had an extra head sculpt with a different face. Unfortunately, what you see here is what you get. Yes, we got a new sculpted weapon here, but the Calliduses also had their guns. So having a gun isn't something that's supposed to be far-fetched, but it's a shame that there was no different face sculpt to have a second face, maybe a smirking face or something too. Although it shows the screw in the back there, so it could have been swapped and possibly had a second face sculpt, like Calidus, the Shadow Ghost, and the Lost Light colors. The Asterix colors, as we will. Another thing too, and it's me just being a nitpicky guy, but it would have been cool if maybe just retooling the back there and having that slit be more open, and including just a throwaway, no activating gimmick thing, thin little plastic to make a cyber key to include with it. And it would have cost nothing really to do it, just would have been a little throwaway accessory. I know that a certain other Cybertron Galaxy Force homaging third-party figure that turns into a Starscream did that, so it would have been cool to include that here. But I mean, that's little nitpicking. Just an extra head sculpt and a cyber key would have been pretty cool to have. But otherwise, an incredible figure. And I heavily suggest you pick it up because it encourages that we would get more characters from stuff that isn't just G1, and it gives a chance for that kind of stuff to actually exist. And just like how Meteor had a very difficult time getting released, and that's the Galaxy Force Starscream, it surprises me that this even exists or it has legs at all. But it's incredible. The articulation is just as good. If you want to know more about the articulation, my other videos of the same mold would cover it more. I'm just here more to talk about the history of this character and gush about it. And I mean, I'm tempted to actually try to get more of these just so I could have one in alt mode and maybe one to keep near my desk. Like, this is, I am super happy with this. You have no idea. I heavily suggest you pick it up. This is probably one of the only chances that we'll get to have something of a masterpiece and or classic scale of this character. So give it a shot. Not much more else I can say about my second favorite Transformer character of all time, but thank you, Nitro Convoy, for existing, as this former race car driver just loves everything about this guy. That being said, this is Protoman of ProtoRetro, and this has been a video review of Reformatted R30 Nitro Racer, also known as Nitro Convoy, made by Mastermind's Creations. And I'd like to thank P.A. for hooking me up with this after he did his review, so I would be able to get this guy as soon as possible and enjoy him in all his glory. The king of the road is back, and now he's in my display. So until then, guys, take care, and as always, roll out. Hey guys, like what you saw? Want to see more? Then be sure to like, comment, and subscribe this video. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and like the Facebook group for all the latest updates from Protoman of ProtoRetro.